live now.
It's still waiting for Friday.
Yeah, setting up the meeting for custom streaming service. Ooh.
Yeah,
Done.
I did.
Yeah, we are live.
Yay! Oh yeah, I will shut it down because. Okay, good. Whoa, we did it! Yoo-hoo!
Well, I will kill it on YouTube, so otherwise it's too
Yeah, it's
much.
very confusing.
So we're waiting for Brian, I think.
I think so. But in the meantime, let me start up the. Yeah, I'm especially interested in what he managed to do.
Yeah, I saw a lot of comments on Friday.
Yeah, so it would be good if he could enlighten us a little bit on the status of whatever he has done.
Yeah, and Kenneth is not going to make it, he says in our group. Okay.
That's okay.
Oh, I got now an email. FHIR is now live. It's live now. Got even emails about it. Wow.
Did you subscribe to it in some way?
Yes, I did.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Funny. Ah, good. It works. That's nice to see that. Well, how it works, is it also recording immediately, or you have to still commit that or something?
Well, I have to still commit that. So at the end of the meeting, I go to the YouTube dashboard and I have like 24 hours or so to actually publish it, to make it available after the live recording.
So, and can you edit it as well or not?
Yeah, I think you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not that I will do that, but yeah.
But the boss was like beep.
Let's see.
Swear words.
Yeah, it's nice red background here.
Yeah, much better than last Friday when you were in the Burger King.
The Burger King, yeah. Though in Microsoft Teams you can blur out the background. That worked pretty well. You cannot minimize Zoom when you are recording this meeting. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was good. Now we're all set.
Yeah, just waiting for Brian.
Brian will, or is there anything? Yeah, because a lot of the subjects probably require
him. Yeah.
Him.
Brian is online. Oh no, he's not.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is, probably. Ding dong.
Yep, that's Brian.
Ah. Hi there, Brian. Bad connection, or no? Is he still in the meeting or not?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, there is the meeting.
He is still here.
The buzzer isn't.
And I can see his mic is moving, but I don't hear it. I see some audio coming in on his mic, but I don't really hear it. Okay, I will start sharing. I can unmute Brian, so now I can't. Try to unmute him. Force
his mic. Oh, everything is off now. I see. Okay, also his camera. Okay.
Let's see what I'm going to share. I'm going to share my browser. Okay, otherwise, let us start with maybe some updates from what you guys have done in the past week.
Yeah. Who starts?
Well, why? We can. George, you can start.
Okay. So I worked on refactoring the parsing flow, the one that we had to change the iSource node with the iTyped element. I've changed it. I've created the unit test for it. And right now I'm looking into the unit tests that are failing because of this change.
Aha.
Because there are a few, and the issue is quite confusing. But I think we can take it after the meeting.
Yeah. Maybe if we take a look at it with the two of us, then I may be able to point it quicker.
Yeah, I already know where is the issue. I just need to talk with you about it.
Okay.
See how we can fix it.
Good. So that means that if that fix is in place, the parser will work by being on top of iTyped element instead of being on top of iSource node.
Yeah.
Which also means that we have additional checks done, like validating XHTML and in JSON, and in JSON also validating whether you're using an array when you should be using an array in JSON, because only the typed element reader knows about that, not the source node. So that fixes a bug that was reported last week from the British side of things. They reported that our JSON parser wasn't validating the checking whether you used brackets when you had an array in JSON. It's the same cause actually. So okay, nice. Marco.
Yeah, last week I solved some issues, some small minor issues. One was, for example, the search parameters with these multiple targets. That was the common search parameter, clinical search, clinical patient, I don't remember well. And I'm finishing now the caching issue with FHIR. I have a nice solution for that. I did also some measurements, and I think I have here all these notes. It's 3 seconds quicker than the original cache, so that's quite nice.
You designed a unit test that does parallel
yeah.
try to hit the cache of the stored the cache compiled FHIR statements, right?
Yeah. That's true, 20,000 times, and the cache is about 500. And it was really a big difference when we cleaned up the cache, not like till the 500, but cleaning up a bit more, like 10%. That was a big difference in timing.
We discussed, yeah.
Yeah, we discussed that. So that was a big advantage. So yeah, I'm finalizing that, and I'm trying to put that in the pull request today, and then. It's this week. It will be my Fonk week, so that would be the last thing for me this week.
Nice.
Yeah, quite nice.
Good. So myself, I worked I worked a little bit on the FHIR specification because the R4 release is imminent. And R4 pages on the mapping language were really outdated. So I updated the mapping language spec together with Graham. I also started refactoring slowly part of the validator to our new to make it as we discussed last time. I'm trying to split it up in smaller steps that are easier to parallelize, and I started doing that on the terminology thing. I've decided to just take a few bugs in the validator. One of them is about terminology, and then instead of trying to fix it in the old way, I replaced that part with a new way of working. So I think we can make all of this, keep everything working while we slowly refactor the validator. Also, I worked a little bit on simplifier to make it possible to render R4. And that's basically it for the .NET API. And I think by now we have Brian.
We do.
Ah,
we have voice. Yes.
hello,
Yes,
hello.
yes, yes, hello.
Clear, loud and clear. Thanks.
Good.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
You did a lot of work last week on R4.
Yes. So my server's now up and running with that R4 version. So I spent a bucket load of time on the actual core spec, getting all the PA bits and pieces in, and applying the majority of the QA changes that were unallocated to any particular group, and then dived into the FHIR client. So the R4 stuff actually even validates the core stuff with the parsers and all the rest. But
because it already has a snapshot.
Yeah. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's too bad as is, because a lot of the stuff that was different isn't in the existing stuff. It's will be covered outside. So just the straight core stuff is going fine. Looking at that Skype chat, I can't actually even open that at the moment. My machine's not happy. What did I have the unit tests down to? I dropped that into the chat.
Yeah, I saw it on Friday. It was my free day, so I
yeah.
not responding to that. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. So it's looking pretty good. So I think it's up to the point where Michelle can grab it. Not expecting that we can just accept that pull request and go to town. There's a bucket load of stuff in there. The question that I'm expecting is, can we pull that backwards to the other ones? I have another branch, which is sort of where we'd started back in DSTU2. So a lot of this stuff, I haven't cut that up and made the pull request to bring that forward. So I think the best way to do this is to go through that pull request that I've got outstanding, make comments on it, and I'm going to manually grab the bits and pieces out of that and bring them to 2, so you can bring up to 3 and then check to make sure it's all still clean. A lot of it's not going to be able to come back because it was 4 specific. So the updates to the code generator stuff, that was all R4 specific. Yes, it is all pulled out into the single file, but unless we just try and redo that exercise manually, I don't think it's something that you could actually drag back in terms of a cherry pick or anything like that. But there is some other bits and pieces which I'll do the manual cherry picking back into 2. So you can bring forward. Yep.
Yeah, so let me understand correctly. We have this branch that we integrated many of the R2 and R3 changes on into R4, and you took that branch, right? Right, and you reintegrated your changes into those.
Yeah, that is pull request 802.
Oh, I was also on the road on Friday, so I didn't really see what was going on. I'm sorry for that. It was my yearly teaching assignment thing. I'm teaching once a year at university, so that is
nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. So I really enjoy doing that. GitHub is what I wanted to type. Yeah, I have no idea what G2 is, but yeah. So you have a pull request here.
Yep.
This one, Brian. Yeah.
Yep.
That one.
So okay, so that has all those changes that we made to 2 and 3 for the new parser framework and so on, and then it adds the things you did to R4 to fix most of the unit tests.
Yep.
So
and it's all the customizations I did in 2 have already been applied to it. So they're the bits I'm going to bring back and make a separate pull request to 2.
Excellent. Yeah, that is nice. So Marco is not working on this project this week. Which will mean we will just miss the Monday deadline for 1.1. And
the one change in there that is the breaking change is that rolling back of element name. Sorry, was it? return element and element.
Oh
name.
yeah. In the
Yeah.
Is there a way we can do that without breaking backwards compatibility?
So there was.
Or you want us to smuggle it into 1.1 and assume that nothing will happen?
I don't know what the answer to that is. So in the old stuff, so in the 0.96 era, there were two properties. In 1.1, there's one property, and it's got a totally different name to both of them. And I split that back to one property, but the one property in both of them. Ooh, and you did that.
Ooh.
So that's what I did there. If you want us to switch that back so that it is the same as the other one, having gone through it, happy to go and update my code and put that back. I don't have any correction on it. The one I'm still really not happy about is that Markdown property. Having changed my server, I'm sort of would rather keeping the Markdown type rather than the string. So I think I made a comment on it.
That's the discussion we had like 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but maybe we will put that on the agenda for after your R4 report then, if you want to rediscuss that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. But that's really where R4 is at. I think it's fully functional. My server's running on it. The client's talking to it, read write. But it is the FHIR client talking to a FHIR server. It's not a cross between us and a happy or anything else. So,
no.
Yeah, don't know.
Well, I think in any case, what we could do initially anyway, the R4 will be included in a beta publicly. That's step one. And we might draw people's attention to it and saying, look, here's R4 stuff, try it out. And then just be ready to have some hot fixes. And maybe even when we go to 1.2, where it's no longer beta, we can still say, well, like the R4 still is newish, so we expect bugs on it. I mean, that's the way things go.
Yeah, of course, that's no problem, right?
Can't be perfect the first time around. I think it's already very timely that that within weeks, if you wait for the 1.2 release, at least within weeks, after the publication, we will have the support in our library. And in fact, I think if we work on it next week, then before Christmas, we will actually have an alpha package with R4 in it. So if people really want, they can, as soon as your pull request is in, we'll have an alpha release with the R4 stuff. But are you still failing? Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, be minded that this is a pull request on a branch, right? So after you merge, it is not really an alpha. You have to make the pull request of this branch again. That's why it's also
send that to.
So this feature upgrade R4 with SDU tree changes, there's now a pull request from Brian on it. After that is merged, then we made a new pull request on R4.
It's a pull request.
Yes.
That's why it's also not checked by our developer.
Continuous build.
That makes sense. There's a lot of changes there.
So there are two steps for that. Okay. Yeah.
But at least, I mean, and in process-wise, if next week, Marco, you finish this, then before Christmas we have an alpha, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So in this, sorry, go on.
Is Michelle likely to have a look at the validator stuff between now and then?
No, not Michelle. I am, but Michelle is working on the snapshot generator.
Sorry, that's the part I meant.
Oh, that's the part you mean. Yeah, that's. I mean, that's the step 0 we need for the validation. He is. That's all he's working on right now. But he's also.
Yeah, that branch, I'd highly recommend using that branch because that's got all the goodies in it. It's the latest. I'm pretty happy where it's at.
Okay. So
I even updated.
Michel has to
all of
work on this branch, you mean?
Yeah, so whether it's the one I put in or whether the pull request goes through and gets it, I think if he uses that, because I've gone and updated all of the test data as well. So the test data, all the test structure definitions, I've written a conversion that updates them. So that all that test structure definitions that he had, it's actually gone through the process. So
yeah, I wonder which branch he's working on. I have no idea actually. It's good. It's a good point. Yeah.
Probably on its own clone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can't see it here.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So R4 progress. I will put this down here. So Brian has worked on integrating his changes in a PR. Marco will integrate those into the main line next week. Okay. Brian, I'll just Brian will you will like cherry pick relevant things from the R4 PR into DST2, which we will then merge forward. Okay, word, yes, words, and then Michel has to start working on the, well, Michel will start working, or is actually working, is working on the snapshot generator. Ewout will make sure he works on the right branch, which is either Marco's or Brian's.
Yeah.
R4 working branches.
Because I wrote a tool to migrate the structure definitions from 3 to 4 that were all in the unit tests. So if he finds one wrong, they'll all have the same wrong.
Yeah.
So my server is going to get a flogging in the next couple of days with a connectathon with a validated directory implementation guide. So it will have been exercised significantly.
Okay.
Wonderful. So that's enough, I think, for R4 progress.
Yeah.
Good. And we wanted to redo. Okay. Redo discussion on Markdown properties.
Thank you.
Any order in these remaining agenda items, or maybe additional agenda items?
No, I think it's okay.
I will report on meeting with Microsoft team. Okay. So shall we? Well, shall we maybe just start with that Markdown properties discussion then? Would be best if I had the old discussion here. I think that was in our first meeting that we just debated that. Forward.
Yeah, the first one. Or not?
No, we had that first one. We didn't really get to it, I think, and then we, in the end, we.
That's true. Yeah.
Well. Or maybe we documented it in the issue itself. I know that we have extensive discussion on the property. Crap, where is it? I think it should be breaking changes. maybe this issue, right? Is it 495?
495, yeah.
Okay, maybe we put it where it should have been, and that's here. 19 days ago.
No.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the reflection of our discussion there.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
that last comment there is the one.
Yeah. There was
I can show you some code that shows from integrating the changes into my server.
So what is painful exactly? They want to show that, right?
So when you scroll down.
So I stop sharing. I will stop sharing. So you can. Yeah. Grab it. Actually, we can now. I configured stream in such a way that we can have everyone can share at the same time, but that probably will get a little bit chaotic.
Already, you can have multiple screens.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I need a bigger screen for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the font will get really small, but
yeah. I can see.
This is the narrative generator. So from my server, sort of see that it's just wandering through. It is handcrafted, and if I look at the odef.description, that's just a string property.
Yeah.
And so looking at that now, I've got no idea from the model when I just look at odef.description that it's a markdown or a normal string. So if I just put in there, and so text, append format, and I used to have that, so you'd say, okay, that's not just a normal string, whereas now it is just a normal string. So it's more difficult just from looking at it to know, do I need to do the markdown converting it to HTML, or can I just add the string in? There's nothing in the class, there's nothing in the comments that help me with that. So whereas before it was quite clear it was a markdown property, I need to do something with it. And so I grab the value and convert it to HTML. So that's sort of...
Isn't that the same true with narrative.div? That's a string, right? Or not?
It is a string, yes.
And you have to know that it's XML, so if you want to do something with it, you have to parse it as XML.
Yeah, it is the same across the entire spec, whereas this, it's any old property, any old string property. Is this a markdown or not? I need to look at the actual code or check to see if there's an element. At the minimum, I'm going to have to add something to the comments XML so that when you wave over, it'll tell you. Otherwise, there's no real way of telling. That's my objection to it. That sort of makes sense now. Whereas if I look at a date, yes, the date has the date time type, which is in the native format, and then the FHIR date is the specific FHIR type. So whereas this is now a string and a markdown. So whereas if it's a normal string value, I get a string and the FHIR string, the other property.
Yeah. And if we, because this was a change, right? So if we don't do it this way, it's not
It was a change either way because in the 2, so all the existing generators up until R4, where I've made them both behave the same. So that pull request is actually telling us that, yes, the data types versus the models are doing something different from a code generation point of view. And so now in R4, it's doing the same thing for all of the types. And I'm thinking we're doing it the wrong way around now. We picked the wrong one. It's a shame I don't actually. I might try and just open that file. Go on.
Oops.
Yeah, it's still waking up. Wake it up a bit later. Yeah, that's really the key of the issue. Is it's hard to tell what's just a normal string and what's a markdown string. because you should be doing something different with them.
You mean also in the spec there are fields called description or anything else, and they are real strings.
Yeah.
And sometimes description now is a string, but it is Markdown. But the only way to actually see that is to either check that there's a description element as well, or look it up in the spec.
Yeah.
Which is tiresome.
Yeah, you want to make it a little more obvious because a lot of people are not going to do that. Probably guilty of that too.
And checking if it is an element underneath it, is that
yeah,
an
the
option?
element is there, so that's what you can do. When you start typing down, you see the string, and unless you go and look at it, you have to check what's the type of the other thing, because it's either going to be a FHIR string or a Markdown. Whereas if it's a date time as the native property, the other property is going to be the FHIR date time.
Yeah. So actually, but that means that HTML is going to be the only exception, or not?
Yeah. So I think the narrative we can live with because it is HTML and it's the only place that type's used. It can't be an extension.
It's really predictable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this also means that we will remove then Markdown element or description element in that case.
Correct, because it's just Markdown.
Yeah.
Where is it? Where is it?
Well, I like consistency, but I mean, if from using it in practice as you are doing now, yeah, you need power. If from using it in practice, it's clear that it is not user friendly, then I can be convinced that consistency at any price is not a good thing.
I think he took off his headset, so he doesn't hear us.
Yeah.
I caught it in time.
You got it in time.
Yeah, I was just saying that I like consistency, but if you have discovered that this is unuser friendly in practice, then I can be convinced that we should be maybe less consistent and more user friendly.
What was it? Description.
So Markdown. How again did we do this with FHIR datetime? If there's a FHIR datetime, is there an element and a non-element property, or is it just?
Yeah. So with the FHIR datetime, you've got the datetime native type, and then you've got the FHIR datetime, which is the FHIR type. So it is consistent with that, but it's consistent in that there are no other types, or from a FHIR space, that could be a datetime native. Actually, that's not true, is it? Because FHIR instant would also generate that type. What does it?
FHIR instant is also FHIR instant is a datetime offset, I think.
Yeah.
FHIR instant is a datetime offset.
But I guess from that perspective, you're not going to need to treat that date time differently. So the date time native is actually the same thing across both. Whereas with this description property here, that's actually a markdown. So I need to interpret that differently. So if that was just a normal string, I wouldn't be doing it to HTML. I'd be doing a HTML encode.
I think there is an argument for, I mean, the same argument that we apply to Markdown, we could apply to date times. So maybe it was a mistake to have datetime as a string, as a normal property, because you always need to process it after the fact anyway.
Because it's a string as the value inside the FHIR datetime, but it's a and it's a. No, is it a datetime? Gee, now I can't even think.
I don't know. Do we have? Oh yeah, birth date impatient would be an example, right?
Yeah, it's just a string. You're right. So DT. So birth date element. Yeah, so it's a string actually. You're right. So that is a string. But then they're always a date style name with our 2HTML.
No, so I'm saying we did not, maybe if we turn Markdown into a Markdown type instead of a string, with the same argument, we can after the fact now say maybe birth date should not have been a string, but it should also just have been a datetime type.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think I've given enough background on why I sort of think we should maybe go the other way. I can live with it, but at least I would like to shove in Markdown as in brackets at the start of the description at the very minimum, as in the pop-up text.
Marco, what do you think?
I like consistency as well. But I have the feeling now that datetime is also not really the proper way to do it, right?
Yeah, I think the mistake is in the datetime rather than the Markdown.
Yeah, and I think we can't change the datetime anymore.
No.
So.
But we can get Markdown right.
Yeah, exactly.
I have the same feeling, so maybe we should just do that then.
Then it was datetime, it was a mistake, but yeah, we can't do that anymore.
We can't change anything about that, no.
No, that is, no.
Maybe it's a question we can ask the community. But I kind of agree just to leave it.
Well, community, if you're listening.
well, so I think the thing is we could have, and I didn't because I didn't have the time, but after the fact I did design a really fancy partial datetime type instead of that string. And if you have that, then it totally makes sense to have a FHIR datetime thing, with extensions on it and so on, where the central value, the dot value, is not even a string, but the dot value is this fancy partial datetime type.
Is that the one you're using in the FHIR path engine?
It's the one I'm using in the FHIR path engine, yeah. So I already made up my mind there. And just taking a look at what last updated does here. See here, instant. Yeah.
Where are you looking at?
Now, so I am looking at what we did with instant, for example. That's a good example. Instant is an element that returns a FHIR instant, but if you have the primitive field, so last updated itself, it returns a date time offset. What I think what we should have done with FHIR date is that FHIR date itself is the type, but then the member is actually a partial datetime. So I'm wondering whether that's different again. Because for our Markdown, that would have mean that we have a Markdown property with the name element behind it that returns like the FHIR Markdown type that has extensions on it and so on. And we also have a fancy Markdown C# native type that represents Markdown, but it's not something we're going to do. No, I can't believe we did. I think I go with Marco's and I think also Brian's argument. So the Markdown properties, Brian, Shall I take back the screen, Brian?
Yep, all yours.
Then I can show you what I'm typing. So Brian discovered that representing Markdown props as strings makes it completely invisible for the developer to see whether he or she is dealing with Markdown.
Yeah. The other thing, so as I upgraded stuff, so if a type changed from a string to a Markdown, you would not see a compile error. You would see no note.
Yeah.
The compile didn't tell you anything that something had changed.
If also, yeah, that's a good argument too, I think, Bob.
So in fact, I had it go both directions in that last round of changes I did. Yeah, in fact, it was the narrative generator for my conformance statement. Not the narrative, populating the conformance statement values. Capability statement, that's the one.
Yeah. Oh, that's Markdown.
Hey, this is what you're saying, Brian.
Yep. Single property of type Markdown and no element backing.
Okay, let's decide then to have the Markdown props as a single property of type Markdown. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
No. Next. This editor somehow in the browser is really slow.
I can have a look. Where is it? So here.
I'm just pasting it into. Can you actually? I was sharing. Probably you can't see that I started Visual Studio Code now, right? I shared just the browser screen, or is that?
Yeah, I only see your browser.
Let's see if I can fix that. New share. I should actually share this. Share.
Now I see. Yeah.
Same stuff, but then.
Oh, okay.
Other editor. The editor was too slow somehow in the browser for GitHub. If it's only when I'm sharing it, I don't know why. Anyway, so that's that. Markdown properties. Special enum value to use when parsing an email value. So we talk about that a little bit because we talked about that last time.
Yep.
I saw in the notes.
Oh, that actually raises a great question. Sorry, I should have brought that up in the R4 stuff. One oddity, the version is why this one came up in the first place.
Sure, that's why it came up in the first place. Yeah.
So the Enum value generating thing changes the first number. If the Enum starts with a number, it replaces it with the word for the number. So it kind of looks a bit funny in terms of how that comes out. So you get
that is because it
.0.0.
Oh,
for _0_0.
Yeah, it does because enumerate identifiers cannot start with a number. Enums cannot start with a number.
Yeah.
Which enum is this then? Or is
FHIR version?
FHIR version.
Okay. And there's one audit value that it does in as well. So the audit event. So those two places are where it occurs.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's kind of okay with the audit value because it doesn't look bad, but for the FHIR version number, it doesn't look ideal. So if you can have a suggestion on what that would be better to look like, happy to take feedback.
Well, it would always mean, probably mean getting in special code for this, no?
Kinda, but there's only, at the moment, I think there's 2, possibly 3, but yeah, there's only 2 I can think off the top of my head that it happened in.
Because in an enum, we can't have numeric values. That's the source of the problem, huh?
As the first digit, yep.
Yeah, as the first digit. But what if we put, does it work when you put @ before it?
No idea.
Keyword, identifier, or string expector after verbatim specifier. Okay. No, it doesn't work with the @ mark before it. Is there anything?
It's an identifier. It's not a literal.
Oh, now my battery is running low. Gosh, it said it had an hour and a half of battery. So why is this? Another same chair looks the same. Oh no, different chair. Let's see if I get power now. I don't. No, I know that there is a few dead sockets here. What is this? Why is why is this showing up? Okay. This doesn't give me power. Maybe this one. No. That's a problem. This is an old existing socket that should work. Yeah, we have new meeting rooms, but they're not finished yet. So we're already using them.
It works.
I have power and more light on my face. Okay. So enum values starting with digit in C#. Has anyone find a solution for that if we Google?
I just replaced, so what I did was I just replaced the number with the words for the number. So 0 went to ZE0.
But you said that looked weird, right?
It looks weird, but once you sort of see it, it's okay. I mean, the other thing we could do is actually just put an N in front of it. And so it's N4_, or we can make a special case with version and put a V in front because it's not the actual
version. FHIR version 1.3. It looks like 1 ONE
_0 _ 2 or whatever it is. Yeah. So it looks a bit funky, like I say. But the other case that it doesn't have .1, it's just 4 or something. So it's the other case it's not bad in, but with the FHIR version it looks really weird. Yeah.
Maybe I hear you suggest that maybe we should just stick with what you have now, 1_0_0.
I'll shove it in the chat what it looks like.
Yeah. Although the only thing she suggested on Google is to start it with an underscore.
That's
in the chat. Let's see, where can I see this?
That's the Zulip chat. Yep.
In the Zulip chat. Zulip chat?
No.
Sorry, Zoom. The other Z.
Zoom.
Down, you see a chat button.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Otherwise, I've shoved it into the Skype chat too.
I can see it now. You too, Ewout?
Yeah, I can see it, yeah. Oh, yeah, underscore, because you can't have a dot in it as well, right?
Yeah. Actually, I'll find the audit one, which is the other example. In my audit code.
But FHIR version is a string, right? Or
no, it's an Enum.
Is it
it's
an
a
Enum?
required binding to a code value type, which makes it go to an Enum.
All right. Okay.
And hence that other part of the discussion, which is what do we do when the value is unknown?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I could just change that to be _0_1.
Maybe it looks better.
Yeah, I think it would.
It's also the suggested approach on Google, what I see.
All right, let's make that the decision.
Okay.
Good. So I can comment on that pull request.
Who said I don't understand? Oh, what it's about, Marco, or was it Georgia?
So yeah, I look at the spec and I see FHIR version. Well, maybe I'm.
FHIR version. So FHIR version is a string, but it's bound to a in the FHIR spec. It's bound to a string, but it is bound to an enum, right or not? Yeah.
No, it's bound. So the conditions where we generate an enum.
Yeah.
Where it's a required binding to a code data type.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, but that's not in structure definition of version, for example, or is it? Oh, maybe it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's in quite a few places. So yeah, that's actually something that changed. Oh, that's right. What changed is it went from a string value to a code data, a string type to a code type.
Yeah, from 3 to 4.
Yeah, and hence it became an enumerated value. So when it changed data types, it entered into the other rules. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what happened. Cool. That's an easy one to fix. How did I not think to do that in the first place? Anyway.
It's now code. Yeah. Yep. was looking at the wrong spec, so that's sorry about that.
The wrong version of the spec. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at 3. I thought, what are you talking about? Yeah, now I see the R4. Yeah.
Okay, so we have about 6 minutes left.
Really? Oh, it goes very quickly.
Yeah. So the special, I think of the agenda items, refactoring of the validator can wait a little bit more because I started working on it, but I don't have enough to report yet.
Okay.
And if it's of interest, and I will get further this week, we could have a meeting next Monday, a separate meeting, to discuss the design of the validator if you want. I wouldn't mind at all actually having some feedback on what I've done, maybe after this week. So maybe we can shortcut that discussion. Refactor of validator. Anyway, we'll continue work and schedule a meeting when there is something to report, probably next week. Okay, fine. The other agenda item, special enum values to use, is that a pressing issue? Yeah, probably. If we want that, it's a breaking change. So, well, we can only, since that is a breaking change, we probably can do that only when we go to a 2.0 of the library. This is not in a hurry, right? This point to debate this.
I think we can live with it, but it'll need to be addressed afterwards.
Yeah, I think so too. But if we discuss it in 2 weeks, we're not into any, we don't run into any kind of problem, do we?
No.
New FHIR HTTP client, Marco has not yet started work on that, so we can skip it. Or not.
Yeah, I think about planning, next week it will be the last week for me this year.
Yeah.
So I think I pick up this thing also from Brad Bornage, because he had also put his pull request, and then we can take that for the first draft and then carry on with our own.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we do that in 1.2. That's no problem.
Yeah.
Working to start isolating Poco dependent code is also not extremely in a hurry. Maybe it's best if we spend a few minutes on the meeting with the Microsoft team, Marco.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you talked. We had a discussion of you actually, because I was listening in the car.
Yeah.
And it worked, by the way. So.
Yeah, it was good. So maybe a little bit of background. We met the Microsoft guys who built their FHIR server, and they use the API as well. So we figured that it would be interesting. We had already had some pull requests from the Microsoft team on the project, and so we decided that it would be nice to have a chat with them and see what their plans are. And so I think the two major things they wanted to report was that they wanted the parser and the serializer to not be dependent on Pocos anymore. So I had the surprise for them there, in the sense that was exactly, of course, what we had been working on, and so that's already done. So what they said they are going to do for us is review the new parsing and serialization framework.
And they were also they were also very interested in the FHIR path. Piece of it, right? Mostly.
Exactly. They're very much interested in the FHIR path bit, so they're going to look at the performance of the FHIR path engine. And performance of the new parser and serializer. So that's going to be their main focus, and they will start create pull requests.
Yeah, they were in that discussion. We were looking at how can they help us to contribute to the to our open source, right? So they were looking in a way how they can help us.
I think that's interesting because performance. Well, of course, we looked a little bit at performance. Brian did, I did, but it really can't hurt if a team of skilled people from Microsoft will take another review of the performance and suggest improvement. So I think I'm pretty satisfied with the outcome of that meeting. That means another set of hands to help on the FHIR.NET API.
Yay!
Yay! Yeah. All right. So and with that, we are at the hour more or less. Maybe I can smuggle in something that I forgot to.
Yeah, there was also one thing that maybe we're going to change, not change this meeting, but also on a different time for more US friendly time. So maybe we have the Australian and yeah. So once we have an American one and one we have an Australian one, something like that. That was, I think, the outcome of it, right, Eva?
Yeah. So we said we will have it on this time until we have some people from the US coming in, and guess what? Here they are. So it means we need to alternate the times.
Because it means that it's pushing us. If it pushes me to the morning where that's acceptable, it's late at night for you, Ewald.
Yeah, it's the normal meeting times then. That's the only, more or less the only time slot we have.
Oh, like you had for the special. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many Americans are going to join?
Well, it's probably mostly the team from Microsoft, and they are about well, at max they are 7, but I don't think there will be more than 2 or 3 of them joining in. One of them said he was actually crazy enough to do a 2 a.m. call, but I think that's crazy. So.
Yeah, I thought we were going to alternate it. So
yeah,
once...
alternate it. Yeah, that's what we can do.
Put it in the morning and just grin and bear it. At least it's the same for all of the calls.
Oh, you mean all of them in the morning? But it also means all of them are.
It's always unpleasant for me, so yeah. Grumble, grumble. That's enough.
Yeah. We'll think about this a little bit more. It has a we'll just chat about it before we make a decision here. We have a separate meeting with them next week, so we will,
we can discuss it then, probably.
We can discuss it then. Yeah, that's fine. Thanks. All right. Well, thanks for being here, guys, and we'll meet. Brian, I saw all your questions on Skype on all the things you did. I will just start responding to those when this call is over.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye. Cool. Bye, guys.
Good evening. Bye. Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.
See you later.